So my partner and I have lived in downtown Durham since spring of 2021. And we really love it here. And after, I would say maybe 6 months or so, we kind of found our weekend groove. On Saturdays, we had standing plans that if we weren't doing anything, we would wake up to our cat alarm, get dressed, walk to Central Park where the farmer's market is, peruse, hang out. Usually she gets flowers. I don't generally get anything, except a couple of times where I've gotten like little crafts or a mug or something like that. And then we find something to eat and we hang out. If the weather's nice, we'll just find a bench and plop down and everything. If it's not so nice though, we will hang out in the food hall where we can be warm and cozy. And then once we're done with our food, we head on back home. And it's a really nice way to start a Saturday. It feels like we can kind of go on our own schedule and just be a part of the community and enjoy ourselves. And also feel like we've kind of like done something and accomplished something early in the morning before our days really started. So it's just like a really lovely way to spend some time in Durham. So that's usually what we do on Saturdays, but this past weekend, things were a little bit different. Durham decided to be extra cute to us and planned some festivities on Friday and Sunday. So this video is just kind of a weekend in downtown Durham. You'll get to see us hang out at some different spots, and I've taken a few pictures. None of them are my favorites, but a couple of them I think are pretty decent. Yeah, I hope you enjoy spending some time in downtown Durham.
Under the tree. Can y'all still give a happy birthday shout out? Happy birthday, my man. I heard you listen. 30 seconds. 30 seconds, y'all.
Take it up now, y'all. One out this time. One out this time. Okay, look, 2 steps. How low can you go? Can you go down low?
Go down real
All the
low.
way to the floor.
Go down real low.
The first surprise of the weekend was playlist opening night, which was also in Central Park. So we got down there, the music was already bumping. We were a little bit later than we expected to be, but that was perfectly fine because we didn't actually know how long we were gonna stay. And it was a really cool energy happening. So this is the first shot of the night. I don't love it, but if it does have some redeeming qualities, it's probably the light hitting the tent, I think is a really beautiful shade. And then we have that leading line of the building that kind of directs the eye in a direction. And then my for sure favorite is the little girl having a conversation with the cone. They look like they're having a very intense heart-to-heart, and it's very beautiful and touching. And then shot number 2 is pretty similar in terms of, I don't love it, but I do like it a little bit better because of the composition. I feel like as the viewer of this photo, you get to put yourself in kind of the peak of a V shape. And so you get to see some things happening to the left, some things happening to the right, and it feels like it contains everything that's happening in the image. And so it just feels a little bit neater in that way. But it's okay that I didn't love either of these shots because really the true purpose of this lap that I did was to get a beer. And I saw Ponysaurus had a little tent set up, so of course I was going there. I have nothing but good things to say about this place. I've actually written a review on Google Maps. Their offerings were pretty exciting. I have had the Inautentico quite a few times on trivia nights, but I decided to go for Don't Be Mean to People because of the alcohol percentage. One of my favorite things to do is to sip and shoot, which sounds dangerous, but I'm talking about cameras. So I feel personally that whenever I feel super free, that I'm able just to take pictures without wondering if they'll look good or like putting pressure on myself to create specific kinds of art or whatever it is. I just have fun. And so yeah, that's what I did. I popped off quite a few pictures here actually. And I don't love any of them, but I do like that you can kind of see the context of everything happening. Like not only is this playlist series, you know, contained in this one area like we talked about in the other photo, but there are also people on the outskirts looking in, whether you're at a brewery or you're across the street at the other side of the park, or maybe you're driving through or whatever. It really opens up the perspective of these photos. And I think Tisha looks great, so that's always good. After an undisclosed amount of time, I finished my beer and I finished my sipping and shooting, and I was just sitting on that little bench waiting for Tisha to come back.
Squeezing lemon? Yeah, squeeze that lemon, girl. Oh yeah. All right. She made it drip, okay. Yeah.
And I actually do like a couple of these images. I think the colors and the food really came out. I think I've been working on some different presets. I used to really not like editing, but I think over the past 2 years or so, I've really grown to love it. And I think part of it is when Lightroom started introducing those presets and letting you kind of see what your photos could look like with other people's edits. And I think it has actually inspired me to create my own. And so I do feel like I'm getting closer with some of my food ones, where like I can just click a button and it has all of the characteristics of a food picture that I want. The timing ended up working out really well. I think once I had taken those pictures of Tisha's food, I got a buzz on my phone saying that my dinner from Mango Indian Grill was ready. It's a pretty new place in the food hall, and so far it bangs. I got all of this food for like $12, and it's really, really tasty. I do think though that the hunger was probably starting to get to me at that point, because I don't like this picture at all, and I don't think that I liked it when I took it, but I think I was too hungry to care, and I was just ready to move on. After we finished eating, we just chilled for a bit. We sat on the bench and listened to the music and just kind of hung out and talked, and it was lovely. The weather was perfect, but it was starting to get a little dark, and I think the playlist was starting to come to an end. But we actually wanted to go get some ice cream. So before we went to get some ice cream, I convinced Tisha to go towards the stage with me so we could romantically dance in front of strangers. But then the music took over us, and I think we both blacked out because I think she danced and had quite a good time. Before that happened, I was able to capture a little bit of footage and a couple of shots.
I love it. It's beautiful, and there's so much of that culture that brings richness to our culture here.
When we awoke from a musical trance, we took stock of our surroundings, and then Tisha remembered she wanted ice cream. So we decided to walk on over to the Parlour, which is pretty close to Central Park, honestly. But before we got there, actually, this scene caught our eyes. I think we walk around Durham a lot, and it feels like either because of the time of day or the season or the construction, like new things are popping up or old things are changing all the time. And for whatever reason, I don't think either of us had ever noticed this like pink purple radioactive situation that was happening. So I wanted to make sure to take a moment and take a couple of pictures. I think I like both of these a good bit. I think the colors are just stunning. It feels radioactive in a good way, yeah. The Parlour. It's such a fantastic... I don't know how F-bombs work on YouTube yet. I haven't looked that up, but it's fantastic. And I have a lot of really good things to say about it. I also wrote a review about this place where I compared it to like a Star Wars cantina a little bit, in the sense that it feels like it's a watering hole for all walks of life. Like you can see some people coming from DPAC shows, or you can see some kids like out with their parents, or you can see some people who are like about to have like a rager of a night. Like it feels like a really, really cool melting pot of people, and yeah, it's like in the heart of Durham. So, and the ice cream is fantastic, so that's why we went there, and it did not disappoint. I took this picture, which I think is just fine. I actually like the other picture I used for the review quite a lot better. Mostly the like little bokeh balls of the lights in the background, I think kind of make it almost like dreamy, like like idolizing the ice cream a little bit. But yeah, it was a lovely time, and it was a really great way to end our night. I'm still getting used to this whole like hybrid shooting thing, like video and photo on the same camera with different settings. But for the first kind of like real try out, it felt pretty good. I felt like I was able to switch between them without getting like frustrated or like not knowing which settings I wanted to put on which side. So it felt like a good first outing, even though I didn't come away with that many pictures that I loved. The next morning I decided to swap out my 20mm for my 50mm. What was a little bit funny to me looking back on some of this footage is that I used each of the lens to record me fondling the other lens, which feels like a form of cuckolding. And so if you're into that, let me know and I'll start an OnlyFans for camera lens cuckolding. CLC. Sounds pretty good. After kinky time was over, we got in the car and we headed to the farmer's market. We didn't walk this Saturday because we were actually going to Cary to meet a friend for lunch at Taipei 101. We were pretty short on time, so we decided just to drive and made things a little bit easier. Even with our short time there, I was really excited about the video that I was able to capture. I think it does a good job of showing you the movement and not hustle and bustle, because I don't think it feels stressful. But there is a good bit of kind of, you know, people cycling in and out and interactions and exchanges happening, whether that's goods and services or just people meeting up or whatever it looks like. And so I think I did a decent job of kind of letting you see a few of those moments.
Peonies are my favorite. One little peony on it.
I did end up snapping this photo before we left. I do really like the light again. Maybe this picture isn't the best example, but lately I've been very interested in capturing more people in my photography, especially like street photography. One thing that I don't know, it's almost like a rush when it happens, is being able to capture someone and their energy, their emotions without being able to fully know who that person is, whether that's like there's a hat covering like part of their face, or they're in a shadow, or they're walking away from you, or whatever that looks like. I just think there's some fine line and some magic of finding that fine line of like bringing emotion from a stranger into a photo without bringing everything you need to know about that person into a photo. After Taipei 101 in Cary, we decided to go to Target. We needed a few things for Mother's Day, and we also wanted to get some stuff for a friend's birthday. So she was having a birthday party at the Durham Hotel, and Tisha wanted to get her some flowers and an expensive bottle of champagne. So we moseyed around Target for a bit. I didn't take very many photos or videos just because we were kind of in and out, but I do have one picture I've taken in Target that I really, really like, and so I'll show it here just so you can see it. And so that was pretty much it for photography and video on Saturday. We kind of hung out at the apartment for the rest of the day, then we got ready to go to the birthday party, and then we went to the Durham Hotel, where we had a good old time with some friends and celebrated a really great person's birthday. Tisha and I had been talking about trying to go to some thrift stores like in the area and just see if we could find some clothes that we were excited about. I think we were starting to walk around in the really hot weather and neither of us felt like we really had like spring or summer outfits that we loved. And so we put that out into the universe, and Durham granted us two pop-up like vintage shops that we just happened to walk upon. Like, I think we were coming back from the farmer's market one Saturday and we saw one. I think the other one was actually at Central Park, but I don't think it was on a Saturday, or maybe if it was in the afternoon or something like that. And we were going to, I think, Boxcar. So yeah, we just saw like two markets that felt like they were answers to our questions. And then I think earlier last week, Tisha was scrolling on Instagram and she saw this post. And so it felt like the third time that this was happening to us. And so we decided just to block off our Sunday for this particular event. And we're really glad that we did, because it was, one, it was an excuse to go to Coco Cinnamon, which we both really like. Two, it was a nice day to get outside and just to be out and about. And then three, I found 4 shirts that I really, really love. And so it felt like Durham was listening to us and trying to give us a little bit of what we needed. So like I mentioned earlier, the weather was fantastic. The sun was shining. It was warm, but not too hot. And this umbrella really caught my eye. But then I actually ended up really liking this picture. It might be my favorite of the weekend, just because it's a little bit nostalgic for me. My mom and I, when I was growing up back in Kinston, we would read the Sunday Funnies together and like exchange them. Whenever one of us has finished it, we'd hand it to the other one. And so seeing that kind of like plastered on her umbrella just made me feel a little bit cozy, I think, in a sense. And then I think it's also a cool perspective of all the shopping and all of the stuff that was available and kind of different people perusing items. The one thing that I don't love is the construction in the top left, but I think it's also very representative of Durham, especially downtown. I think there's been a lot of buildings growing and changing, and so I'm okay that it's in the shot. Once we got our coffees, we started shopping around some, looking through some different stores and all that good stuff. I actually found 4 shirts, like I mentioned earlier, that I really love from this particular store. And they also had a bunch of like very interesting knickknacks. And so I tried to get some footage of kind of their display. After I bought my 4 shirts, I didn't really want to spend any more money, so I just kind of took a step back and just took some photos, took some video. And I ended up spending a lot of time around mirrors. I think that I was very interested in how they expanded the shot. I was still using the 20mm, but so I didn't necessarily need the expansion, but I think being able to see what is around the mirror and then see the subject in the mirror lets you see so much of what's happening in that particular area. And so, in retrospect, I was definitely in people's ways, but who were probably trying to look at the clothes that they were going to buy. But I do really like some of these pictures and how they came out. This one in particular I think is cool because it's kind of like a bag theme. Each of them has a bag and they are left, middle, and right. And so it just felt like a nice piece of symmetry, and also kind of felt like a POV of like 3 different shopping experiences. So I thought it was pretty cool. With this photo, I really like the pockets of people. You can kind of see the 3 guys and the beer. You can see a person in a shadow on the left-hand side, and then as you look further and further in the frame, you can see other groups and pockets of people. And so it just made it feel like shopping was like a paired experience, or like an event, like someone called someone and said, hey, let's go to this thing. And so I thought that was pretty cool to be able to capture in one image. This is another one where the mirror gives more context to the image, but more so than that, this guy just looks cool as shit. Like, he just looks very suave, and so he definitely caught my eye, and I wanted to be able to take a picture of that moment. Tisha did a lot of shopping and looking around, but she didn't find anything, unfortunately, so we decided to take a little bit of a break, and we sat by this really pretty van. And so we ended up just kind of hanging out for a bit, and I took a couple of pictures. I like this one because it does a good job of hiding the construction by using that table. I kind of like ducked under a little bit to be able to take that one. And then I also really like the one where you kind of feel like you're in the van. I wish I had scooched up a little bit more so you couldn't see the weight kind of holding the, I guess like the roof or the tent there. But I do really like almost the like orange and teal kind of color scheme. I think it looks really good and pops really well. After sitting for a bit, we saw somebody walk over to the Wonderpuff cotton candy place, and so Tisha decided she wanted some cotton candy. And we walked over there, and that was the last thing that we did before we headed home.
Honestly,
She was so fluffy.
yeah, honestly, that's probably the most prettiest cotton candy I made today. I'm not even gonna lie. You guys inspired this.
I love it.
She really likes your energy. Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
It was a really, really lovely weekend in downtown Durham. I think we were able to spend some time in different areas and just kind of, yeah, just feel like we were part of a community. I will say that's one thing that I really like about Durham is that we do have a few big city things, but it still feels like a community. It feels like a place where people interact. And so for all the photos that I took, I think I ended up keeping about 25 of them or so. And I would say out of those 25, I don't feel like any of them are particularly amazing. I'm not gonna like put them in my own little like Hall of Fame or body of work or anything like that. But let me know what you think. Were there any images that really caught your eye or any clips of video that really let you kind of get some perspective of the city? I think for my next video, I'm gonna try something more atmospheric. I'm not really sure what that is yet. It might just be something in downtown Durham, me walking around and taking some pictures. It might be some like specific location or a place that I've been wanting to go to nearby, but we'll see. I'll catch you on that one. Until then, take it easy. Ciao.